Hey everybody, Chris here. Welcome back to another episode of Woodmere Estate Revival. As you can tell, it's No Shave November, which means we've been working on this project now for 2 years. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, 2 solid years of nights, weekends, crazy schedule. It's just been nonstop for the last couple of years. We had to demolish pretty much an entire house except for the outside walls and some of the structure, and then rebuild it. Thankfully, we had some help from some contractors to do some of the major work. We would probably have this as a 4 or 5 year project rather than a 2 year project. And I had to do all the structural, all the electrical, all the plumbing. It's not that we can't do that work, it's just the scale, the scope of that work is massive. And to be able to do this project in a timely fashion, we just had to farm some of it out. We don't feel too bad about that. We've still touched just about everything in this house and have really made it our own over the last couple of years. So it's been exciting. So anyways, down to today's activities. We are working on the powder room. I'm working on trying to get a functioning bathroom in the house. Since the last contractor pulled out, I don't know, a month or so ago, we've had no Johnny on the spot, no porta-john, no rent-a-let for the family to use. Now for the boys of the family, it's not that big a deal. We've got 5 acres. We can find a spot to go. For my wife and some of the others, it's a little bit more challenging, especially now that it's getting cold. We've had temperatures down to the teens, and nobody really wants to have to deal with that in the great outdoors when it's that cold. So anyways, trying to get a bathroom completed this weekend, and I have the plumbing pretty much roughed in, ready to go. I set the closet flange the other day, pretty much ready to set the toilet. But before I do that, I want to make sure all the trim's done, and because it's going to be a lot easier to get the trim in now rather than trying to work around the fixtures. And before I can finish the trim, I've got to set the door, because we've got to have door casing for our baseboard and our shoe molding to butt up against. So at any rate, we're not quite ready to set toilet and all that good stuff. So we're going to work on some hanging a door and getting some trim done so that we can get this bathroom knocked out. So let me show you what we're working on today, and then we'll keep you guys posted throughout the day and show you what kind of progress we're making. All right, so I'm standing in what will become the kitchen, and you can see that we're looking into the back hallway, mudroom / butler's pantry area. We got all of our slate tile work done, hallelujah, and everything's been grouted. The only thing we have to do to complete this job is to seal it, but we wanted to go ahead and finish all of our other work, anything that's going to make dust, grit, and grime, before we seal it. So we're going to go ahead and just leave it as is for now, and then we'll come back and mop it, scrub it, get it ready for sealing at some point, and then we'll go ahead and put a semi-gloss sealer across the entire space. But you can see it's really looking good. It's so nice to have that part completed. You can tell which has been done longest based on the difference in color in the grout. This stuff is still fairly fresh and clean. This stuff, not so much. But anyways, like I said, it'll all scrub up nicely, and then we'll get everything done with the sealant, which will make it all look very, very nice. So the other day we were working on Butler's Pantry cabinets, and we got all of those done except for these two on the end. The lower one is sitting in place. The upper is being returned because it's defective, so they had to order us a new one. So once that comes in, we'll go ahead and get the last upper set, the last lower set. We've got a couple of trim pieces to go on the end here between the cabinets and the wall. And then we have some trim to go on the end here. We've got some raised panels that cover this, the plain end of these cabinets. And then we got to put our toe kick in, and then we'll be ready for baseboard and crown molding in here. So very exciting stuff. Now, back to the task at hand. Looking down the hallway here, you can see the window looking out into the driveway. And that means we are in the powder room. So this bathroom is going to serve as our sole functioning bathroom as soon as we get it operational this weekend. As I mentioned, I got the toilet flange set the other day, had to glue that baby in place, and then carefully drill down through the slate so that I could run some coated screws down into the subfloor. So we got that stainless flange on there. That's nice because, somebody staggers in here and crashes into the commode, and it's not going to snap off like a lot of the plastic flanges would. So that's going to save us some trouble in the long run using that stainless flange. And let's see what else. Everything else is stubbed out. So we've got our drain line and supply lines for the sink. We got our supply line for the toilet. So I've got the valves for that. Just got to cut those off and put the escutcheons on and then install the valves. The sink is it's a wall hanging sink with the stainless trim, the legs and the shelf and everything goes underneath it. Kind of an old-fashioned feel. It's beautiful. So the nice thing about it though is that, you know, it's got kind of that classic vintage feel that's going to go really well with the rest of the house. But the thing is, you got to have your plumbing perfect underneath because everybody's going to be able to see it. So what I'll end up doing is cutting this PVC off and then putting a transition fitting there and going into chrome for my P-trap and the drain fittings and everything. And of course we'll have the chrome plated valves and the chrome scutcheons for the supply, the hot and cold supply. So all that stuff will match and will look nice. Got to trim out the window. I'm going to have to do jamb extenders. This window is extra deep because of going through this masonry wall. So I'm going to have to do jamb extensions all the way around. And then I'll install my stool or windowsill and install the trim around the window, the casing. And before I do all that though, I've got to do this door. So I'm going to set this door in place and then we'll be able to, like I said, go ahead and finish up all of our base molding, shoe molding, and get this baby trimmed out. We're going to have a chair rail around here. You can see where the paint is separated there, so there'll be a chair rail going across there. Amber got painting done throughout the entirety of the house. Now, some of it's getting messed up as we come through, so she's going to have to definitely do some touch-up work. We. But, you know, the whole house has been painted at this point. Walls and ceilings and everything. So I'm doing my best not to mess stuff up as I'm installing trim and hanging doors and everything else, but unfortunately some of that is inevitable. And we're going to have to go back through and touch things up or even just repaint spaces if it's easier. Anyway, she's got it really looking good throughout the entire space here. Loving the colors. It's going to look really, really good. All right, so I've got to take some measurements on this door opening. I've got a level line, as you can see, kind of marked across the opening. And that's what I'm using to take my measurements down to the floor to figure out how much I got to cut off the jamb. And then we'll go ahead and get the door set in the opening here, get it squared up, screwed in place, and then we can go ahead and get it trimmed out. Got the door sitting in the other room here, waiting to go up on the sawhorses. And I'm definitely going to cut the jamb down on both sides to get it in the opening square. I'm not sure about the bottom of the door. I'm hoping I don't have to do anything with it, but I may have to take my planer to the door and shave a little bit off. It may be a little bit tight against that slate. I think I've got about 1/8 of an inch of clearance right now, so that's not a whole lot to work with. So I may get the planer out, set it to a 1/16, take a couple passes off of there, give me another 1/8 of an inch of clearance. That'll give us, you know, 1/4 in total, and I think that would be a little bit better. Allow for expansion and contraction of the door, you know, during change in season. That way we don't ever have the door hitting on our slate. So there you have it. I'm going to get started on this project, and we'll catch you guys back up here in just a little bit. All right, so after much effort, we got the door in there, and we got it square and plumb. Got all of our gaps and everything looking good. It was fun, wasn't it, Dad?
Oh, great.
Yeah. Turned out the door frame was cockeyed. The top part of the frame was running downhill a little bit, so we had to take the Sawzall. That's the fix-all. We had to take the Sawzall to the frame and kind of open that up just a little bit so we get it to fit in there, which is pretty ridiculous, but it's better than having a crooked door. And as you can see, we got our shims in, so we got our gaps uniform all the way around. Looking really good. So now we're ready to cut our shims off and then go ahead and get it cased. Rather than using trim nails, I've been using the countersink bit with some good coated screws here. These things aren't going anywhere. The thing will not loosen up over time. So we've got plenty of hardware holding it in place, and it should be a good solid door for many years to come. All right, we got the casing done on the inside of the bathroom, and it came together very nicely. This poplar casing that we got from Quality Woods is really nice stuff. And the finish on it is just, I mean, it's going to be really nice. We're just going to have to, you know, fill a few little staple holes and then give it a light sanding, and it's going to be gorgeous. But nice tight joints on everything, and it really looks great. Really looks nice. So got to case the other side, but I'm not going to worry about that this evening. We'll get to that later on this weekend, hopefully. But I've got the 2 pieces of baseboard done for this wall and this wall. So now that I have my casing in, I can cut the next one. That will come over and meet this piece. And this little short one, that'll come over and meet this piece. Amber's got them upstairs. She's been putting some paint on them. That way we don't have to paint as much on the floor, thankfully. Less worry about getting stuff on the slate. But I'm going to get those pieces and set them in place, and that way I can go ahead and get my measurements for these 2 shorter pieces and go ahead and get them coped, and that way Amber can go ahead and get some paint on them before we put them down. So once I have those 2 little pieces done, I'll be able to go ahead and set the commode and the toilet. Hopefully get that done either later tonight or first thing tomorrow. Alright, I just got done coping the second joint, and I've got it nice and tight in the corner there. Nothing's nailed in yet. This piece is just in here just to make sure everything fits correctly. We're going to go ahead and get a coat of paint on these before we nail them into place. Obviously we couldn't do that with the casing. It was too difficult. You know, the casing, you got to kind of nail a piece in place, nail another piece in place, get another piece to fit in between those 2 pieces. You know, it's just too difficult to hold that stuff and get everything to fit nicely, and then you know, take it all down and paint it. So anyways, this stuff will have to get painted in place, which will be kind of a pain, but we'll make it work out. And I got this piece coped as well. So that's going to be really nice to get that last of the baseboard down, and that means tomorrow I'll be able to go ahead and set the toilet and set the sink and get this bathroom working. Very excited about that. Speaking of coping, been doing a different method for the last couple of pieces, and I'm really liking it. I've always been a traditional coping saw kind of guy, you know, coping saw, maybe a little file or something like that, but recently I discovered the flat disc method. So you take a normal 4 or 4.5 inch grinder and you put a flat disc on it, and this one I think is it's 40 grit. And the great thing is that you can use that to quickly remove material from your back cut. I mean, it just wades through it. It's amazing how quickly it goes through it. And then I've got a Dremel tool with a little burr on it, and I can use it for the real fine stuff. You see I've got a detail here. It's a real small little fluted detail there. Well, that's, you know, the flat disc, no way that's going to fit, but this little burr on the Dremel fits in there nicely and allows me to carve that out. So it really works great. I'm real happy with it. And it's going to be much faster than the coping saw method. Some people like a jigsaw, and you can get what's called a coping foot for your jigsaw. And that allows you to have a lot more, you know, flexibility than a flat plate on the bottom of it. But you know what? I'm really loving the flat disc so far. So that's where we're going to leave it for this evening. I'll be back down here tomorrow to knock some more of this out. So I'll keep you guys posted. It's dusty in here. So I'll keep you guys posted as we make more progress tomorrow. See you then.